Welcome to the Saturday session where I rate and review every team that plays on Saturdays. We have got two betting upsets and a better than expected game at Marvel Stadium to get through. So let's do this. Who was the worst and who was the best performer in round 15 on the Saturday? Let's do this. If you are anti-Carlton and you're expecting me to use this next 90 to say 150 seconds to bash Carlton, you might be a little bit disappointed. Now, am I going to speak glowingly about them in any way, shape, or form? Absolutely not. But here's why I'm not going to bash them completely. And it's because this was inevitable. I tipped North in this game and was pretty much convinced they were going to win. And the reason why is because at Carlton, the problems are consistent. I think going on a rant in being like, well, everything they're doing is not working, the whole thing's falling apart. There's kind of a sense of inevitability about the way that Carlton lose all of their games. And it simply comes down to the fact that on paper and the eye test are telling us that the entire game plan is win contested ball. And it's like, okay, awesome. That's great. That can still be a way to win footy games. What are you going to do after that? And it's like Carlton go, I don't know, we'll figure it out. No, you won't. No, you aren't. And what are you doing? And that's pretty much where it stands. They do not have good ball users. They do not have pace on the ball. They do not have the defensive transition that is going to stop the opposition from scoring. And I think it's disrespectful to be like, they lost to North. Like, if you haven't noted North's improvement in the last 6 weeks, I don't know what to tell you. You just haven't been watching enough footy. But what's really frustrating is this notion of, well, they're wasting one of the better lists in the comp, which I'm seeing a lot on social media. No, they're not. They're wasting Paddy Cripps' career. And look, just, I don't know, go to West Coast, Patrick, because at least you'd be in your home state not winning football games at this point. And look, he's part of the problem. He's nowhere near the top of the list, by the way, but jeepers. The on-field leadership doesn't look there. There is a lethargy within this group because they are playing a bruising style of football that is not conducive to winning games, and it's causing massive lethargy in the playing group. So they are effectively grinding themselves to the bone for no reason. And look, Voss is going to be the scapegoat for this, and so he should be. But unless there is a game plan or a changing of the guard that makes sense, then it's going to be really interesting to see, because this is not a list that is ready to contend for finals. This isn't going to be a case of Voss gone and problem fixed, right? It can't be. Their next plan of attack has to be, right, let's say Voss is gone and Graham Wright makes these decisions. It has to be more than that. This is not a one thing will fix this. It's on field, it's off field. The whole thing's just yuck. And I know people are going to be really happy for Carlton fans feeling like crap. I don't really, because, look, 30 years, since I've been alive, Carlton have basically been no good. At some point it's going to end up being like Richmond for me, where it was like, all right, it was fun taking the piss out of them, but they can have some success now. Hopefully they don't have as much success as Richmond did, because I want my team to have that success selfishly, but it's actually not really fun watching them struggle anymore. You ever heard of the expression, it's not who you play, it's when you play them? Yeah, Port are kind of victims of that, because there are two things are very much true. One, they should have lost this by double what they did because of inaccurate goal kicking, but that is not in their control. You can only lose by the amount that you lose by, of course. Hypotheticals are not going to help the situation. And secondly, it's because they looked the most checked out mentally early. I mean, if we are going to sort of give Carlton, sure, let's say credit, they rocked up in the first quarter and had a crack. Straight out the gate, it was kind of like Port are in trouble, in real trouble. Now, of course, the reason that Port Adelaide are going to be, not as bad as Carlton in my rankings here are because there were some younger players that stood up. I liked what I saw from Manny Liddy. I liked what I saw from Josh Sin, who just quietly is becoming a pretty decent pick by Port, by the way. Outside of that, Zach Butters was very good. Horn Francis did some nice things, did some not so nice things. His last quarter was poor. And look, this isn't going to be a case of, well, Port have lost, so I'm going to go back to the well. You all know where I stand with the off-field stuff affecting on-field leadership. I do think that Josh Carr's main priority for this list is going through a mini rebuild whilst targeting a veteran or a couple of veteran presences a la Darling and Parker at North to help Rosie with leadership, because it just looks like it's an out of his depth thing, because it's not quite a I will put you on my back and take you to where we need to go. Port Adelaide's list is not going to allow Connor to do that. So if you can get some presence there to help him in that way, I think you can help accelerate this thing, because I don't think Port's list is horrible, but it's not a contending list. It just isn't. There are too many cracks there. They had a crack, though. It didn't end up being much, which is a shame. Can you imagine telling any AFL footballer that 2 out of the next 3 games you will have at a particular stadium, you will have 9 shots on goal in each game, and the first time that happens, you kick 9, and you think, well, he might have actually kicked 9-1, and if someone had said to Joel Amati, you're going to have 9 shots a goal in this game, he would have gone, Adelaide Oval is my bunny, and this state is my bitch, and then he did that. 6 behinds, 2 out on the full, 1 didn't make the distance. The poor bugger, by the way. And I understand the memification of this in modern times. To watch, though, and again, we may just differ on this, it wasn't that fun to watch eventually. Like, 3, 4, 5, it's fun in a group chat kind of setting of going, he just can't keep missing, can he? Yeah, he can. Outside of that, though, welcome back Callum Mills. His form is awesome. Errol's back, Tom Papley's back. They are clearly going to be the team in the run home this year that is going to wreck some seasons. I find it a little bit difficult to wrap my head around them replacing someone even in that top 9. I don't really know where I sit with Gold Coast and GWS at this point. I think they are more fragile than Hawthorn, Adelaide, and the Bulldogs are. We will see how that game goes tomorrow, but in the run home, considering they've got Max King, Lockie Carmichael, Noah Chamberlain, so they've got the academy kids coming in, they don't need to tank for a draft pick, and they're probably going to give up their first one for Jamara anyway. You know, Sydney, get some more wins in, get Jamara up there, get Max King and the 2 academy boys, and you're away. And Angus Sheldrick is a very good young player, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I would not be letting him go. Because the 3 academy boys that they're bringing in, they ain't taking his spot. I don't think anyone can or should in the run home. They did enough, Sydney. They should have done more. They did enough. They faded away in the last quarter, did the Saints, but I'm convinced that if they put together those first 3 quarters against anyone not in the top 4, they almost win that game. I thought they were really good. Like, they looked at Collingwood, who, look, they were held at arm's length for pretty much the entirety of this contest, but they should have broken well before they did. I thought what they were able to do on turnover was really good, and this game was just proof that you can put any team under pressure in this competition as long as their disposal is never easy. Now, with a highly skilled team, especially coming out of their back half that Collingwood are, not all of that pressure translated into turnover. But what it did was it kept them in the game, and they took their chances. Ironically, it was actually some misses late that did kill some momentum a little bit. They're still trying to figure out some things with their spine. I understand all that. For a team that lost by, I think, 28 odd points or 26 odd points, what the hell was the final score in this game? 34 points. Jesus, I forgot that last goal. 34 points they lost by. I feel better about St Kilda now than I did 5 hours ago. That shouldn't make sense. The Flying Viking, Alex Taru, I thought he was awesome. The spoil work was great. Didn't need a whole lot of the footy. Toby Trevelyan should never be the sub again. He needs full games. Just get him the ball. And in his draft year, we saw what he can do, so stop that. I loved seeing Darcy Wilson back my heart. Breaks for Mateus Filippo. Jack McRae and Jack Steele did what they did, which was good. Is it weird to say Marcus Winhager did a pretty good job, even though Nick had 30 and kicked the sealer, probably? Kind of crazy, that matchup. But overall, I am pretty damn positive about the Saints after this, which is still strange to me, but I like it. I can see the vision. They gave up 108 points, so they weren't defensively awesome, and I feel good about them. That's what they should do. Because at some point, that 74, they're going to teach themselves to get that to 90. And they'll teach themselves how to get that 108 to 80. And that is when you're going to create a really good team and not go into a game trying to be ultra defensive. And they didn't. Love it. Huge tick. Well done, St Kilda. If you really want to get the best out of Collingwood, or as close to the best as they can provide on the day, try and scare the shit out of them is pretty much the theme here, because the Saints got within a point early on in that third quarter, and then all of a sudden the Pies just went, yeah, we've had enough of you, and basically swatted them like flies. And it was sick, to be honest. And look, I understand anti-Collingwood rhetoric. I really do. It's always been fun to hate Collingwood, right? Since I followed footy. Round 1, 2005, Sydney versus Hawthorn was the first game of footy I remember watching and caring about the result. By round 2005, I knew to be anti-Collingwood. Now, I love my mum. My mum's a Collingwood fan, right? But I also know that, they're a fun team to hate. They just are. I understand that Hawthorn are as well. I'm not trying to have any moral superiority here, but it's just fun to do. But at some point, you've got to be able to, well, I do anyway, to just go, it's not Collingwood the team to hate that's playing like, this is just a really good footy side, right? They just are. It's annoying. And look, this is the entire rhetoric for Nick Dacos for mine, because I was thinking about this the entire time that I was watching him, because I can understand that he's not the most liked superstar, right? Like Ablett, Judd, these guys of yesteryear. And look, in a social media age, players of now are never going to be as loved throughout their career as past superstars were. Now, I'm not saying Dacos is Ablett. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's Judd. I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is that those guys were amongst the best midfielders in the competition when they played. Nick is that now for now. And he cops more for it for a variety of reasons. Here's why he's so good, though. And I was watching him and it just materialized in front of me and it stuck in my head. Every single time he gets the footy, no matter how cheap you think it is, he makes the right decision every time, even if the decision's boring. So even if the kick is a cheap 15-meter sideways ball so he can get a 1-2 to make an even better decision, he does that. Even if it is, gliding across the ground and just hitting someone on the lead, it's just the best option. Every time he gets the footy, he does the right thing. And look, does he flop from time to time? Maybe. Is he the only player in the competition to do that? No. Right? There is a reason why Joel Selwood got more criticism than Paul Puopolo for ducking, right? One of them was a better footballer than the other. We all turned around and went, Joel, you don't need to do that in order to be seen as a superstar. Neither did Poppy, by the way. But Nick doesn't need to maybe go down as easy as he does. But should we just accept that's a part of the game? Yeah. Because even Selwood now in retirement, that's not brought up as much, right? But we're in the current sort of microcosm of footy, life, social media and all that. So Nick's going to cop it. Kind of is what it is. It sucks, but, you got to live with it. But outside of that, so many of their players do the same thing. Ned Long does the right thing every time he's around the footy. Most of the time, it's handball it sideways or tackle the bloke who's got the footy because his jumper looks different. And that's what they do. So many of their players just make the right choice all the time, almost without blinking. And if they make a wrong decision or a turnover, well, they're trusted that they'll make the right decision next time. They're not going to make 4 bad decisions in a row. None of them are. Because it's either them themselves will pull it off or their teammates will help them make that right decision anyway. And it's what makes them so good. A potential danger game turned into a 5.5 goal win. Well done. Going into this game, North Melbourne were 4-goal underdogs and only 13 times in the last 100 games had they kicked 6 goals in a quarter. At quarter time, they'd kicked 1 goal. By 3/4 time, they'd kicked 6 goals in a quarter twice and effectively kickstarted social media's, let's say, manhunt for Michael Voss's job. Awesome. And this is the best compliment that I can give North right now For 2 quarters, they were awful. Awful. The first quarter, they were no good. Carlton should have been further ahead, for sure. They weren't. You got to take your opportunities when they present themselves. The last quarter, they played the worst. Why they tried to shut the game down, I've got no idea. You've kicked 12 goals in the last 62 minutes of football, lads. Any chance you'd want to try and kick 1 or 2 more to seal it? No, evidently was the answer to that question, which kind of stank. But those 2 middle quarters were unbelievable. And you look at what they were able to do on the outside, and everything materialized. Again, this is the culmination of 6 pretty good weeks of footy coming into this. You know, that West Coast game was ugly, but they stood up. And look, they still need to learn how to put the foot on the throat and keep it down and all those things. And Carlton kicked 5-5 in the last quarter. That helped them get over the line. I understand all that. But you could see the vision. And Toby Pink, my God, right? What a man, what a human. From the sample, the tools, on the tools, I should say. And he's ended up giving Charlie Curnow a bath. And if you go, well, Charlie was injured, he played. So, I'm sorry, your excuses run real thin, right? For every Nigel Lappin inspirational 2003 story, right? Do you think that would be set in folklore if Collingwood had have won by 10 goals instead of Brisbane? No, that's the risk you run. So, no, I don't want to hear any of it. He was awesome. Charlie Comben got badly exposed, and I fingers crossed that shoulder injury is okay, but McKercher, O'Sullivan, Dylan Stevens' last 6 weeks have been fantastic. It's amazing what Luke Davies-Uniacke can do when he's prioritizing meters gained. I know a lot of people don't really like that stat, and YouTube basically stopped my meters gained video from getting out to the algorithm for some stupid reason. But territory is going to win you more games of footy than not. Jacob Constanti is the most underrated recruit of the year because his pressure acts were unbelievable throughout the game. Cam Zurhaar was bashed from pillar to post, but had some really composed moments. Griffin Logue was better than expected. Sheasel was awesome in big patches. Caleb Daniel broke the tag, which was weird. Overall, the fact that they got this over the line and are showing the improvement, they're half a game off being out of the bottom 6, the North Melbourne are. That's a massive credit to them. And look, I've been on the North bandwagon, not just because of my misses, and I appreciate that North Melbourne fans enjoy the fact that I've been optimistic about them, but this is a win for the fans. It's not a win for Clarko. I mean, it is, but work with me here. And look, it's going to be a win for the players moving forward. But they'll use this win as sort of a reflective piece. This is what we know we can do. We need to replicate this using our system as best we can. For the here and the now, this is a win for the North fans that have been in pain. They gave you a little scare at the end, but they got you to where they wanted to go. And even the last 3 weeks with 2 wins and a loss by a goal, you can see what's in front of you. And by the way, for what feels like the 8th time this year, that is why you recruit Luke Parker. He was awesome. And so were North, who end up number 1 on my rankings. So what do you guys think? Comment below, let me know. Like the video if you like the video. Push that subscribe button to get involved and stay up to date with all future uploads. I've probably got 1 more video in me before Bubs gets here if everything happens on time, and that's going to be my June mock draft. So keep an eye out for that. Probably dropping on Tuesday, if not Wednesday. I appreciate all your support, guys. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Sunday. And if you follow my YouTube shorts, my round review will be out tomorrow night. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.